Hello, and welcome to another fun-filled episode of Career Retrospectives right here on the Super Review Show Network. I am joined by my good friends, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
What's going on?
Yo.
Is it just me or is it the final countdown, guys? We've been going pretty well for a while now. Get it? Bun humping. Anyway, sorry. Bad
Yeah. Boo.
Boo that man. Boo that man. As the title of this podcast episode represents, and it feels you're watching us, Kyle's background can't display it enough. We're talking today about Europe, the band Europe, and their album Start from the Dark. Was 2004? Is that right?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it, but sure is.
Sure, whatever. Let's go with it. No, but today we're going to be discussing, because we spun the wheel last week. Mike's pick was this album here, Start from the Dark, by Europe, the band Europe, which is famously known for the song The Final Countdown, Rock the Night, several big 80s hits on the Billboard Hot 100 back then. But outside of that, they're not really known for much else. And I'm actually kind of glad Mike did this, because it kind of exposed me to, or at least other people who are listening to this as well, an album by an artist that is mainly known for like 2 or 3 hit songs, but actually has another couple of, at least one of their albums that we've listened to so far, which is the one Start from the Dark, that actually has a lot of really good tracks on it. Truthfully, I'm going to kick this one off tonight, but yeah, really excited to talk about Europe's Start from the Dark. So
don't forget about Carrie too.
That's the one. Sorry, I couldn't think of it.
Carrie, yeah, that was ultimate 80s cheese, but yes. Good cheese. Like, it's the good cheese that you kind of, you savor the flavor of the time period. It really captures the, kind of era of time, and the things that every like wedding song you could picture in the 80s had something people dancing to, this,
exactly.
Or whatever. So
definitely, thanks for reminding me of that, Mike. But so if you're listening to us, great. If you're watching us live, great, totally fine. Let me just start off by saying, because I'm gonna go first. Mike pressured me to go first tonight. Basically, I'm not the biggest. I shouldn't say I'm not the biggest. I'm not familiar with a lot of Europe's work, and I didn't even know they were Swedish until Mike, did this. I was like, what, and I looked up their Wikipedia page and stuff like that. But I was like, all right, this should be pretty interesting. And I gotta tell you, I liked what I heard quite a bit. It was such a refreshing take for me. It was kind of like, for me at least, it was like taking a band from the 80s that was like primarily known for like just a couple of big hits, and going into their 6th studio album. I was very intrigued, truthfully, by how well it was put together, at least in my opinion. It was a lot harder than I thought they would be for the most part. I mean, I not doubting their significance or anything like that, but I just thought that it was a really refreshing take on a band that is primarily known for like one hit in the US, but they also have this great album that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So I'm excited to talk about it as well. What do you got? Let's go to Kyle. What's Kyle's initial impressions on Europe's Start from the Dark from 2004? What do you got, Kyle?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the only Europe song I knew is The Final Countdown.
Wow. Okay. It's okay.
A bit disappointed to see that this was not just another 12 of those. It is very going into. I kind of didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I really didn't know that Europe was even doing things into the 2000s. But it doesn't sound like an album from the 2000s. It sounds more like a 90s grunge album, like more aligned with Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, even Pearl Jam, than it is with. I actually, while you were talking, was actually just looking up the top songs of 2004 when this came out. It's more in line with those bands than it is, Green Day's American Idiot era, or like Vertigo by U2, or Linkin Park's Meteora that was out, Papa Roach, 3 Days Grace, so many other things. Even The Killers' Mr. Brightside really doesn't have that 2000s feel to it. I actually completely forgot it came out in 2004 until after I finished listening to the album. I was just doing a little research about it. There's really not much online about this record. Section I have on Spotify. It really seems, it's very interesting though, because other things that they've done after this are So I don't know if I was trying to find reviews and stuff, and I couldn't really find anything. So I don't know if this was like a big like flop at the time. I can't tell. It's like non-existent online other than some YouTube videos. Um, so while I was listening to it, I was like, oh, you know, it's a 90s record. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. I forgot this is actually 2004. So that's definitely more in line with that.
Yeah, okay. And Mike, this is your pick. What do you got going into your pick here with the Europe Stuff in the Dark?
So I mean, I was familiar with their the Final Countdown, that whole album, great album. And they basically, and some of their work after that. And I knew they broke up in '92, and that this was their kind of reunion album coming back. And in a lot of ways, if you think about it, a lot of bands came from the '80s, a lot of them broke up after the '90s because grunge kind of came in and sliced open their heart, and basically was like, we're gonna take all that emotional stuff that you guys were talking about with like this and that, we're gonna bring it to the dark side. And and in a lot of ways, a lot of these '80s glam rock bands, they kind of wanted to find that kind of piece of themselves as well. Like, it's like kind of like in a lot of ways, I feel like Start from the Dark is like reminiscent of their restart, kind of back to like reunion, kind of like finding themselves in a lot of ways, like in some of the styles that they didn't embrace, coming from where they did. And it's interesting to see a band's take on like blending grunge with like blending some hard rock, harder stuff than they normally do. Having a lot less melodic, harmonized guitars and stuff like that they were kind of like akin to the whole glam sound, and kind of have like definitely see like their take on it, but also kind of blending some of themselves into the sound, a lot less than I think some of the fans probably wanted. But still bringing, when you bring a good songwriting ability into any style, you can find some light of day. But if you lose a major songwriter and you don't have your original members, and it feels like it's not you, the soul is gone. I could see this definitely being a major miss. So most of the original members were back, and that's kind of like what's important. So coming back into this, I was definitely like, I've always been a fan of grunge. I've always been a fan of like 90s rock. So was very interested to see what this album is all about.
And we're going to talk all about it right now as we jump over to what really the only information we have on it really is the Wikipedia page. So we're going to talk about it from there, shall we? So I just want to read a little bit of it before we get into the track listing really quick. It says that it's Start from the Dark is their sixth album from Europe. It was released on September 22nd, 2004, in the midst of like American Idiot and like, pop punk, and as Kyle mentioned, like Mr. Brightside and from Killers and Vertigo by U2 and whatnot. That was a pretty big year for a lot of that type of music, but it's kind of got looked under the radar, I guess. And it says right here is that it says it departs from glam metal genre as it featured more of a modern sound compared to Europe's first two albums. To quote the vocalist, we wanted to do something a bit more. We wanted to do something at least that was a little bit relevant to now. A bit of dry mix, detuned a bit. So we felt like we didn't want to do an '80s album per se. We just wanted to start like a fresh band, really. And to me, they definitely did that. And it says here it sold 600,000 copies worldwide, not like platinum numbers or anything like that, but just interesting how it has a record of selling 600,000 copies, not a million, but 600,000 copies worldwide. So it sold a little bit, not a lot. But let's get into the track listing, shall we? And I know Mike wants me to go first. He's just grinning, waiting for me to chit chat about this masterpiece from 2004. Which I'll get to it. So track listing: Gotta Have Faith, Start from the Dark, Flames, Hero, Wake Up Call, Reason, song number 12, Roll With You, Sucker, Spirit of the Underdog, America, and last but not least, Settle for Love. I'm gonna go first because Mike pressured me into it.
Boy, I wonder what JT's favorite track is. I mean, I don't know, guys.
It's definitely not Start from the Dark. No way.
It actually is not.
Oh,
What? We're
So
breaking
it's my,
it from
that is
tradition.
my second favorite song on the record.
All right, close
Okay.
enough. Also, I just want to point out really quick,
Yes.
about 2 days after the American Idiot album.
Oh, that's
Really?
right.
Exactly 2 days after.
Wow.
And the single Hero was released on the same day as American Idiot.
Oh my God! Wow. That's
Talk about
nuts.
overshadowing.
Literally
Yeah.
talk about like literally destroying
Yeah.
my sales and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah. What a way to compete with something. That's good.
as
Just take over the
Titanic
airwave.
as American Idiot.
Yes.
Yeah. Oof,
Yes.
big
That's
words
tough.
there.
That's tough, Chief.
That is tough. All right. But yes, going back to my round here for a second. All right. So the title track is my second favorite song on the record. I will say that. It's great. Title tracks. I'm a sucker for title tracks. But it's not my favorite on the record. When I first listened through on YouTube, I was like, because again, it's not on Spotify. We had to listen to it on YouTube, which I'm totally cool with. I was fine with it. But Hero stood out to me quite a bit. For whatever reason, I gravitated towards Start from the Dark, of course, as because I'm a title track guy. But for whatever reason, Hero got to me. Hero got to, because I remember as clear as day. I was like, I'm going through it as I actually. Funny thing, I literally listened to it before we went live tonight as well. I actually listened to it again for like the third time just to make sure. I'm like, all right, here we go. Just make sure I'm good here. When I got down to Hero, I was like, I could add Hero to my playlist. I can add Hero to my like hard rock vibe playlist or like grungy, somewhat maybe a little bit grungy playlist or whatever, or just a playlist in general. I like it enough. Start from the Dark, obviously. I if anyone has listened to us for any period of time, I'm a title track whore. I love those title tracks so much. You give me American Idiot any day of the week, 21st Century Breakdown any day of the week, I'm a happy camper. But the title tracks, of course. But no, Start from the Dark, great track, really strong. This album kind of goes up and down a little bit for me, but it is consistent for the most part. Like what I mean by up and down is it starts off with Gotta Have Faith, which a track I really liked as the opening track. But when Start from the Dark came on, I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm you have my attention there, Europe. What do you got? Flames was like, all right, it's there. But then Hero really got to me. Wake Up Call, Reason were good tracks. Definitely not like super like anything special, but they were very good tracks as well. Song number 12, I don't know. Title tracks and number tracks always work for me. It's just weird. I'm weird like that. I'm sorry to be that guy, but like 21 Guns, 21st Century Breakdown. I'm listening off Green Day tracks. You give me like 8, 6, 7, 5, 3, 9 by Tommy Tutone. Anyone? I'm good with that. I'm good with that. But song number 12, yeah, exactly. Number tracks as well. 80 by Green Day. What? Kyle got that one. Song number 12. I really like song number 12 for whatever reason. Maybe because there's a number in it. I'm really not sure. But yeah, Roll With You, Sucker. When I first read the title, for some reason, and Mike's gonna kill me for this, I thought of the Jonas Brothers song, but then this erased the Jonas. Yeah, right.
No, that's not allowed.
But no. But hear me out for a second. Hear me out for a second. The song "Sucker." This is gonna sound really stupid, but this "Sucker" kind of like made me forget about the Jonas Brothers "Sucker" a little bit. Truthfully,
Hell no. Jonas Brothers song is way better. Not even lying.
Oh no, we have our first rivalry. No, I'm just kidding. And that's no diss to the Joe Bros "Sucker" either. I mean, I like it. It's
Kyle, those are things you say in your head only.
I'll say them out loud when it comes to this. Just you wait.
But yeah, "Sucker." I thought of the Jonas Brothers song, but this one actually I liked it quite a bit. Spirit and the Underdog, America, and Set Up for Love. They're not bad tracks, the last 2 tracks on the record, but they're actually are really good tracks. So I like them. I like them when I listen to it all the way through. As a complete album, it really like felt like good to have like it was actually an album, not just a collection of songs or a hit single here and there. And to me, this actually felt like a solid album compared to just Start from the Dark or Hero or God Have Faith. It was actually a little bit more than that to me. So that's kind of where I'm at with this record. So again, my standout tracks are obviously the title track, Start from the Dark. Hero, for whatever reason, stood out to me for whatever reason. And song number 12. And Sucker, just don't worry about it. The Jonas Brothers reference, forgive me, but it just, for whatever reason, I brought that up. Whatever. Yeah, those are I'm not going to include Sucker though. Those are my 3 though. Song number 12, Hero, and Start from the Dark are my standout tracks. Let's go over to Q. What do you got for this?
I think I need a villain shirt. I think I see the route we're going here today. Okay, so we start with "Gotta Have Faith," and oh god, it really. I'm gonna be honest, Mike. You're gonna kill me. It sounded a bit amateur when I turned it on. I was like, really? I was like, this is a professional band. Like, I'm sorry, like they're talented. They play their instruments well. It just sounded to me like a local band. It sounded like
You
it
can
sounded
let
like
it
an
out,
album
Kyle.
that you would go. Yeah, it sounded like the start of an album that I went down to like the local record shop, and there was like a no-name band being like, "Here's our CD. It's free. Go check it out." That's what it reminded me of. It was corny. And this is something that goes for every song on the album minus one, maybe two. It's too slow paced. I could see it actually being a fun song if they picked up the pace on it and made it like a faster track, but no. Kind of the tempo slowed down. Gotta be honest with you. 4 out of 10.
Hey,
4 out of 10.
he writes 4.
He's writing on it. God.
And we go down to Start from the Dark. A step in the right direction here. I'll be honest, nothing special. Again, I wish it was faster paced. I could see myself giving it a bit of a higher score if it was. This kind of like mid-tempo tracks weren't really doing it for me. Does have a cool and well done guitar solo. Wouldn't turn it off if it was on. I go with a 5. Then another step up in the right direction is Flames. The vocals on this one are really interesting to me. They do some interesting things in that they actually kind of have a almost power metal style to the actual melodies of the track. Not the way he sings, but the actual melodies are very reminiscent of like a power metal melody, which I thought that was really cool. I enjoyed it. It does have some weird transitions that could be a bit jarring. Again, mid tempo pace could have picked it up a bit. Continued step in the right direction though. Up to this point, it's definitely a far better chorus than the past 2 tracks. But it has these weird, random like hits in it that drive me nuts. And I thought it was just the YouTube video. I guess not. The production kind of sounded off on it. Decent track, I give that one a 6. And then we get to by far and away the best track on this album. By far. It's the first, and I'm gonna, spoiler, the only song that I actually truly liked enough on this album to revisit. It's the first song I think the tempo actually works for it. I really like the lyrics on this. Essentially how, it's exactly how I feel about like my musical idols, where it's like, yeah, I wouldn't exactly be me without them, but they influenced me and like guided me and, provided, great times, great memories. I really like that. Can be honest, gonna go with a 9 on this one. Really, really good track. I wish the rest of it kind of lived up to it. Because at this point, I kind of got excited here because I was like, all right, we started at like a low point for me and slowly went up. It was like a roller coaster. And then we immediately went down. Not in too bad of a way. Wake Up Call has a really cool heavy guitar riff that I like. And it's just another track that's not good or bad. It's just kind of there for me. It's a 5. I wouldn't turn it off, but I wouldn't seek it out. Reason, kind of the same, but it's a little more slow plots, like slow and plotting than the other tracks. Throws me off a bit. This one is kind of where we start getting to that like almost grunge sounding style. It's a boring song. It has a bridge in here that sounds just off to me. It kind of doesn't fit with the rest of the track. With a 4. Song number 12, gonna be honest, bothers me that it's not the 12th song on the album, but whatever. I don't hold that against it. This one's probably the most grunge inspired track on the record, in my opinion. It's definitely the most inspired by like very strong Alice in Chains and specifically Pearl Jam vibes on this track, but not as creative and original as they were. Maybe that's because now we're almost a decade removed from that style's heyday at that point. It has a good riff. The riff is the catchiest part of the song, but it saves it from a fully bad score. So we're gonna go with a 5 on that one as well. Roll With You, boring, too slow, uninteresting. Sounds like a stereotypical like 90s ballad. Back down to a 4. And then we get to Sucker, which is a very interesting track for me in that it kind of tries to be, it's a early 2000s song or mid 2000s song really, that sounds like a 90s attempt at a 80s hair metal song.
I agree.
It sounds like
yeah.
it's like 3 different decades in one. And I actually enjoy it because it's the one track on this record that I would actually consider to be like a fun song, which is, and this is coming from only knowing the Final Countdown, kind of something I was hoping to get with this was more fun, upbeat songs. But musically, I enjoy it. Musically and vocal melody wise, I think it's pretty solid. But then you hear the lyrics, and ooh, this might be easily the worst lyrics on the album. Some of the worst I've heard like a professional band put out, man. I mean, I actually even wrote some down. They were so bad. She's a sucker for a guitar hero. Oh, the obsession is legendary. All her boyfriends are temporary. Who wrote this? An adult man wrote this. God knows she can't control her weakness. Sometimes she settles for local talent. That one just doesn't even flow. That one just really bothers me. The lyrics are so bad that it actually it took the score down so much because I would feel embarrassed if someone heard me listening to this. Like, this is a song that if I was going to listen to it, I wouldn't listen to it around other people because they'd probably look at me and be like, what the hell are you listening to?
I'll apply that to your Doja Cat and those other.
No, that Doja Cat
artists.
song I dislike, but you had to hear the comparison there.
But I'm sure there's definitely cringy stuff you listen to that.
There sure is. But again, I wouldn't listen to it around people.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, this one, I actually enjoyed that one musically, but the lyrics were just so bad. Like, they go beyond bad in a cringy way. They go to the point of just bad. Then with Spirit of the Underdog, really kick-ass riff. That intro riff kicks ass. It's great. But then I hate that it turns into more of the same clean guitar verse that we got on so many tracks here, and it just didn't hold up for me. I raised my expectations in the first like 15 to 30 seconds and then immediately smashed them down. Gotta go with another 4. America, again, fun guitar riffs. Guitar player, I'm not familiar with the guitar player here really, but he did pretty good work throughout. More jarring transitions. The guitar solo in this one, I will say, is the one solo on the album that I don't think fit the song at all. It just kind of appeared out of nowhere and really didn't do anything for it. Again, lyrics aren't great. Guitar solo, 4. And then Settle for Love, a pretty nice album closer. Fitting way to end the record, I think. I actually kind of enjoyed this one, not enough that I would go out of my way to listen to it. But I think in terms of the album, it's one of the better songs. You go with a 6 on that one. So that's it. I kind of was surprised to go into the second week in a row of being the villain, but unless Mike was really pulling the wool over our eyes.
It? Yeah, how do you know I like it? I could have picked something that
that is true.
I didn't like, and see if you guys were big fans of it. So it could have been a switch.
That is true, because I will be honest. When I was listening to it, I was like, this doesn't sound like something Mike would like that much.
And I do admit it is definitely one of those albums that kind of, I think, has some guilty pleasures on it for me, but it came nostalgically at a time where I found those the choruses and some of these songs like very catchy and memorable. So starting off my review here. First song, Gotta Have Faith. It's always one of those tracks I skipped. Never was a big fan of this first opening track. Not bad, just basic. So it definitely, I feel like it's in a lot of ways setting the tone lyrically for what the album is about, like in the sense of dealing with adversity and struggle, and kind of like maybe the band's gone through some stuff, and I feel like it's more lyrically relevant than it is musically something that keeps me interested. So for me, this was a 6 out of 10. Nothing special, nothing great. Then we got Star for the Dark. This is the 10 out of 10 for me. Chorus is huge. The riffs are chunky in the beginning. Just they got that cool kind of southern kind of like just grungy kind of sway to them. Like they just kind of it really, and that just chorus is something that gets stuck in my head, and it just I just it's definitely the highlight of the album for me, and I am the title track guy today. So definitely
what happened
JT,
here, Mike?
Yeah, JT, you can take the night off. You said he was your second favorite, so that's I have to be the title track guy today. So, and then we go to, what'd you say?
Welcome to the club.
Hey, the title track club. That's right. So, and then we go to Flames. Not a song I really like, to be honest. And I mean that this fits with Kyle and I, in our unsynced musical pace at times. But yeah, Flames for me, kind of it doesn't fit. It's strange, and it feels a little disturbing sounding for this album. Although this album is definitely more grungy, if I feel like it kind of tries to take it in a way that just doesn't really catch my ear. It just kind of almost creates an atmosphere of like this song's called Flames. It's about kind of just like that kind of that subject of things kind of going in a certain way, and it musically it tries to do it, but it really wasn't one of my favorites on the track. So 6 out of 10, just kind of a basic. I still enjoyed it.
Wow.
Still,
Same rating.
Yeah. It's right. It still creates a atmosphere, but it's definitely not something I hate. So then we go to Hero. It's a 10 out of 10. This is a cliche kind of hokey guilty pleasure song for me. Almost could be a country song, like she's my Friday night. You know what I mean? Like that could have been a country song, and it was, but it's so catchy, and its lyrical subject matter is so fitting, and it's like it leaves out the country accent and the country lyrics about riding in the truck and this and that, to like being about a hero. And like how many times have we seen that or heard that country song about my hero, my the person they look up to, and whatever. And this could have been a country song through and through, but I love it. It's just one of those songs that I still to this day like to give to people who ask for a CD of music and see how they react to it, and like, wow, I've never heard the song, but I love it. And I love hearing that, because it's like, the things we don't know that exist only because somebody gives us gives us a playlist. So then we move on to Wake Up Call. It's actually it's a cool song. It's got a pretty catchy little opening guitar riff. It's got some grungy accents in between that brings some dark qualities to it, but then it kind of comes back to a straightforward. It's a pretty basic song, but I like how it has a breakdown in the middle with the straight up cymbal keeping the breakdown pattern pace going. I thought that was really cool. Much heavier than the stuff that they normally do, and for those reasons alone, I give it a 7.5, because it has elements to that the band is not usually akin to, and in that they do pretty good blending them all together with some cool little with a nice riff, some nice little FX from different styles that they're kind of blending into this album. And you know me, I'm all about the blending. I'm all about the many different things coming together to make a different sound. So then we move on to another one of my bangers from this album, Reason. Love this song. Reminds me of REM. Reminds me of It's got that slow kind of like it's got that great chorus, that memorable chorus that I just absolutely love. And it's got some pretty hard hitting and like wouldn't say controversial, but I would say like conflicted lyrics about like the belief in God and stuff like that. And I just love that chorus. And I think the pacing here is actually something that was going on in this time. Well, at least in the 90s, like the quiet, slow song that's emotional and about something that you're struggling with. There was a lot of that going on in the, with the grunge and the 90s kind of stuff. So then we move on to song 12. So it's got some pretty cool riffs in it. Definitely Europe is a band who embraces the riff, and it's something that's catchy and kind of it does its job. It doesn't have anything major chorus wise or anything else. It's a 7.5 for me. It's just a good sit back and have a drink kind of song, like you're here at the bar or something and you're just kind of bobbing your head to it. It kind of keeps a good kind of groove. It's not too fast, not too slow. It's just kind of right in the middle. So yeah. And then move on to Roll With You. That's a 10 out of 10 for me. Roll With You. It's a sappy, cliche, cringy song lyrically, but I love those sometimes, like sometimes I love a good like cringy song because it like, it's just it fits with the kind of thing that Europe has done being in the glam rock days. A lot of glam rock had cringy kind of like lyrical content and had the cheesy ballad, and this is definitely a 90s version of one, even though it was in the 2000s. And it's great. It's just easy to sing along to. And 10 out of 10. And then we go on to Sucker. Sucker was good. And I agree with Kyle completely. It is three different eras of music blended into one, which could confuse a lot of people. But I think in that it creates its own characteristic in a lot of ways. 7 out of 10. Good songs. It definitely lyrically is super cringe, and I definitely will not deny that. I've never been a lyrics guy. I do like my lyrics, but when the lyrics, as long as they're not outright cursing, that's something that a lot of bands who are cringe do, is curse, like overly curse, where it almost just makes them sound unintelligent. But like, as long as they're not doing that, it was fun. Like Kyle said, definitely a fun song. Spirit of the Underdog, 6.5. Nothing much I can say besides sounding a lot like the rest of the album. Like I think Kyle may have said that. It's just good. It's just an all around, just kind of basic song. Nothing bad about it, but nothing great. America, 6 out of 10. That was actually one of my least favorite on the album, the Flames. And then Settle for Love, 10 out of 10. Great way to close the album. And really enjoy the vibe, the cool, laid back kind of like you're sitting on the beach, or you're sitting on a dock and around the ocean, just kind of like playing an acoustic guitar in a lot of ways. And good subject matter, lyrical matter, whatever, to kind of close out a up and down, dark and light album. Has a lot of like different vibes on it. So yeah.
Not bad, not bad. Anything else? Are we ready to go to our ratings?
Ready for the rating.
The ratings.
Rated.
Yeah. All right. So you heard it there first. There's Kyle, Mike, and myself. We just gave our track listing rundown. Now we're gonna go over and just give our final overall rating of Europe's album. Should start from the dark. You want me to go first again?
Yeah, go for it. We'll just go in order.
All right, cool. So again, my going into this, I was like, all right, I know Europe. I know there are three big hits from the 80s. Their most significant one was the Final Countdown. But they had the Final Countdown, they had Rock the Night, and then I'm sorry, it was Carrie. I want to say I was 2 seconds away from saying Jordy, but that's the wrong thing.
You and that
wrong one. Anyways, for it's funny. After listening to it again for like the third or fourth time before we did our show tonight, and after hearing what Kyle and Mike have to say, as well, giving their thoughts on this album as well, I'm actually gonna. You have to, going into any album experience, you have to be somewhat optimistic, because whether you know the band or not, whether you know the artist or not, you should definitely go into it with an open mindset and an optimistic mindset. And that's kind of where I was with this. I said, I've heard of Europe. I've heard of the 3 big hits from the 80s. I want to go into this and be like, all right, what do we got here? And was I taken back by storm and like, this was the best thing I've heard since, blah, blah, blah. No, it was not. But what I did hear, though, what I enjoyed quite a bit. I didn't hate it. I didn't quite love it, but I enjoyed. My expectations were at a pretty average, like, all right, I'm going into this, whatever, right, with that kind of mentality. And I was actually taken back by how good I enjoyed it overall. I'm actually sitting about a solid 7.25 out of 10 on this one, Mike. And I am not. I mean, I wasn't like I didn't even know, kind of like what Kyle said. I wasn't even aware what Europe even was doing in the early 2000s, and they still put out music now, apparently as well. But this one was like, it wasn't even on Spotify. We had to go on YouTube and listen to it and whatnot. And I was kind of taken back. I really enjoyed listening to it. And would I go back to all of it? Probably not. But would I go back to a couple of those songs here and there? Yeah, I definitely would. I'd go back to like Hero. I'd go back to what's the other one? The title track, Start from the Dark. A couple of those there. And I really, you've intrigued me, my friend. You've introduced me to something I would never have found before. So bravo, seriously. There you go. Yeah, 7.25 for me. Not quite a 7.5, but just above a 7. I enjoyed it for what it was worth, and I liked it. So yeah. But that is where I'm at. 7.25. Q&A podcast co-host. What do you got?
All right. So I'm just gonna start with my number. 4.5.
All right.
And I'll explain. So given my ratings, right, it would be a 5, but I do have to deduct 0.5 points from that, because I can't let the one outlier of having one really good song prop up the score that much. Most of my scores around a 4 and a 5. Main reason for this really being, one, I don't know if we've ever really discussed anything grunge on the channel before. I am not a huge fan of grunge. That whole Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, like Soundgarden, that whole style, not a huge fan. Very rare that I find something I really enjoy on that. I appreciated more of like the Nirvana style grunge, like the grunge that was along more like the hard rock lines, like the more punk lines, if you know what I mean. So that's where I fall on that. I feel like everything on this album felt so mediocre. Like so much of it just felt like, and one of my notes I actually wrote down was, the album doesn't feel real. And by that, I mean, it feels like a fake band wrote an album for a movie. Do you remember that movie with Mark Wahlberg, Rockstar? It feels like someone it feels like a soundtrack for that movie. Like it feels like someone was writing a movie about like rock in like the 90s and was like, hey, it's the 2000s now, write what you think a grunge album in the 90s would sound like. And that's what we got here. One of the things that bothered me a lot that I wasn't huge into, and it's something that I pointed out mostly on which one was it? On I think it's Spirit of the Underdog, where it starts with a good riff. Like the riffs on it are really good, and then they devolve into a slow verse with like a clean guitar behind it. And I didn't like that. I didn't think that was done overly well. A lot of the album sounds like plotting and just mid-tempo throughout, with the exception of like Sucker. But hey, Hero's a great song. Hero is a very, very well done song. I actually love that track. Again, it doesn't sound like a 2000s album. It sounds, looking at it from 2023, it does feel very dated, but it feels dated for even the time it was released. like even if I picked this up in 2004 when it first came out, I feel like I would have felt like he was dated even then. So for me, 4.5. Is it the worst album I've ever heard? Absolutely not. If you're a fan of like more grunge, like 90s grunge aspects, will you probably like it more than me? Sure. There's some enjoyable things on that front if you're into that. I just wish also it wasn't so similar vocally throughout. I feel like almost every song had like the same vocals going on. But yeah, so 4.5 for me. I'm sure I'm the villain here by a long shot.
It's a 4.5 out of 5, right? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry about
Actually, 4.5 out of 2.
that.
2 out of 2.
Yeah, but 2. Oh my god!
All right,
And
Mike, take it
comes-
away.
Comes down
All
to Mike.
right. Yes. So yeah, like I definitely can I can see a lot of the like I said, music is a experience that is taken in by everybody differently. A lot of it is attached to a time that it came out, a place in your life, what you were going through, or in general, just something that drew you to it. And other times you can be out of that place and hear music that you would have hit you differently a long time ago, but doesn't hit you the same way now. And I think for me, I really took to these songs for the time that I was in, and also I just feel like they're definitely a little bit behind the times in the time they came out. But I'm, to be honest with you, a fan of that because I tend to be a fan of music that refuses to embrace the year it's made in. Because sometimes I feel like what's the year that's coming out isn't exactly presenting a ton of music that like someone may be agreeing with. So in a lot of ways, it could be a throwback to like a time where they felt like a style of music killed their music they were in, and they kind of wanted to make a grunge like album, in today's music. And I'm okay with that. So like I said, they went on hiatus, ended their 1992 tour, essentially broke up. The album Start from the Dark, the titles kind of like seemed like a metaphor for them to kind of have that reunion, continue making music. It's considerably different direction than their previous work. This era, the band felt like a blending of grunge, hard rock, a little bit of southern rock feel mixed in, still doing the hokey ballads that we all like loved as in the hair metal era, but less hair metal way. Contains memorable choruses. The chorus is on here. Reason, Start from the Dark, Roll with You, and Settle for Love. It's got some big 10 out of 10s for me, but then there's a lot of mid to like kind of like forgettable songs on here that I skipped through, be honest with you, when I was listening to this album, and that kind of hurts its rating. And I'm not going to argue that as an entire album it's not a home run, but it has some major songs on it for me that just create a good environment. It's got some moody song changes, modern flair, modern in the sense of from their original style, not so much for the year it came out, but like no one expected them to sound like this, especially if you listen to their album previous to this album before they broke up, Paradise. I forget the title of it. Paradise something.
Wait,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, thank you.
Prisoners in Paradise.
And it's very like happy kind of sounding, kind of a glam rock kind of sound. And something that hurt this album's rating, I do agree with Kyle here, is the vocals leave a little bit more to be desired. And they also kind of stay the same on a lot of the tracks. They work for certain tracks and then they don't do anything for the tracks they need to do something for. They feel diminished, but in a lot of ways I don't mind that because I prefer the music to take center stage versus lyrics. So so for me, 7.5 out of 10. It's definitely not a 10 out of 10. It has some solid songs on it. It's got a lot of mid songs on it, forgettable songs on it, but it is a refreshing, like JT had said, a refreshing take on a band who you wouldn't expect to sound like that, and we're able to capture some cool kind of rockin' riffs. I think this is what, if I were to final, chisel this in on its tombstone, because it's definitely been a while since it's been out. Rockin' riffs with some good choruses and some just overall music that kind of has some has some ups and downs mood wise, some dark, some good feelings, like Roll With You and Hero. It's got some dark stuff, Flames, and it takes you high and low, fat, like kind of dark light, and it closes it out with a good feeling ending. So within all of that, it does its job of having kind of a lot of different emotions packed into one album. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10.
Cool. Anything else, guys?
Oh,
we want to thank you all for watching, listening, however you enjoy us. I know we had a couple people tune in and say, "Oh my God, they're live right now." I said, "Yep, we are."
Don't forget, we got to spin that wheel tonight, right? Are we doing?
Yes,
are we doing?
do.
No, I think we were doing Ed Sheeran next week.
Oh no, that's right. We are.
Okay.
Sheeran Ed.
Edward Scissorhands, right? His most recent release.
Mm-hmm.
Edward Sheeran hands.
Edward Sheeran. Love it. But yeah, next week is going to be Ed Sheeran. His most recent album, Subtract. I think that's the mathematical one he did. Yeah.
Well, he's done. I think he's done all that.
Multiply, divide. Addition was his first one, and Equals was 2021. This one's 20. Yeah. So, yeah. And then he's done with math, so he's going to decide.
Pi is his last album. I heard.
Square root.
Square.
Exactly. No, but yeah, next week's Ed Sheeran. We're excited to do that one next week. And but we want to thank you all for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us tonight. I want to thank the two fine gentlemen for helping me out with this as always, Kyle and Mike. Thank you again, you guys. Your knowledge is perfect and outstanding. I know Mike's doing the wave over there. I don't even know what he's doing, but whatever. Yeah. Cool. This guy down below me with the map of Europe, not the band, has a podcast.
I misunderstood the assignment, guys.
Yes.
He was a lot gooder in math than English. Don't worry.
Gooder.
And history too, apparently. That's besides the point, though. No, Kyle has a podcast as well called Q&A. Check him out as well wherever you get your podcasts. He does a phenomenal job just having regular discussions out there with his good friend Steve, or Steven, sorry, whichever he prefers.
Either one. Either one works. Just
okay.
Two lifelong buddies talking about random crap every week.
Oh yeah. You can never go wrong with random crap.
Mm-hmm.
We want to thank you all for watching, listening, and so tune in next week for when we talk about Ed Sheeran's Subtract. I'm sure a couple of people that I know personally are going to be flipping out that we're doing that one specifically. I'll talk about that off camera. Thanks so much for watching.